Forget cement. Mix seawater with CO₂. Watch the concrete. Get stronger every year. Right now, the concrete holding up your driveway, your foundation, your sidewalk is dying. Every year it gets a little weaker. Every freeze, every rain, every load, it's losing. Normal cement-based concrete peaks the day it cures. After that, it's just a slow count to failure. But there's a material that works the opposite way. Mix seawater and CO₂, and what you get hardens every single year it sits. The formula isn't new, it isn't experimental, and it doesn't use a single gram of Portland cement. So why does every contractor still pour the same mix your grandfather used in 1962? Your driveway is probably about 20 years old, give or take, and if you live somewhere with real winters or near salt air, there are already cracks in it. That is not bad luck. That is the design lifespan of Portland cement concrete. Portland cement, the gray powder in every bag at every hardware store, was standardized in 1824 by an English bricklayer named Joseph Aspdin. He patented it, named it after Portland stone, and sold it as a manufactured improvement over the lime-based mortars builders had used for centuries. The industry took off. By the 1900s, Portland cement had become the global default for construction binders, and it still is today. But here is what the textbooks do not spend much time on. The Romans built harbor structures using a volcanic ash called pozzolana, also known as harina fossicia, or pit sand, mixed with seawater. Those structures, built between 100 BCE and 100 CE, are still standing underwater. Some of them have been submerged in the Mediterranean for over 2,100 years. No rebar, no Portland cement, no maintenance. This is not mythology, it is documented geology. In 2017, a team led by Dr. Marie Jackson at the University of California, Berkeley published findings in the journal American Mineralogist after core drilling Roman harbor concrete from sites including Caesarea Maritima and Baiae. What they found was that the material was not weakening, it was mineralizing. Crystals of aluminous tobermorite, a rare, extremely dense mineral, were growing inside the concrete matrix, filling microcracks and increasing compressive strength over time. The seawater was not degrading the concrete, it was feeding it. The mechanism works because Roman concrete used volcanic ash as the binder, not pure calcium silicate like Portland cement. When seawater permeates that matrix, the silica in the ash reacts with calcium ions to form new crystalline structures. The process is slow, but it is continuous. The concrete gets harder the longer it sits in contact with the right mineral water. Jackson's team noted that this crystallization process, aluminous tobermorite formation, is exceedingly rare in archaeological and geological contexts, which is precisely why Roman harbor concrete has survived conditions that would destroy modern concrete in decades. The volcanic ash, sourced from Pozzuoli near Naples, provided a silica-alumina composition that Portland cement clinker simply does not replicate. This is not a fringe academic curiosity. The U.S. Department of Energy funded portions of Jackson's research. The findings were published in peer-reviewed journals. The Roman recipe has been reverse-engineered in laboratory conditions and reproduced. The knowledge has always been available. The question was never whether this material works. The question is, who benefits from the material you're using instead? If any of this lines up with what you've been noticing in your own home, repairs that don't last, materials that seem built to fail, I genuinely appreciate you subscribing to Hidden Fix Lab. We don't do clickbait here. We do research, and we put it in plain language. I also want to ask you something directly. Have you ever had concrete work done that cracked or crumbled way sooner than it should have? A driveway, a foundation, a patio? Drop it in the comments. I want to know what people are actually dealing with out there, because the next video is going to get into solutions for existing structures, and your experience matters for how I cover it. To understand why CO₂ mineralized in volcanic ash concrete gets stronger over time, you need to understand one specific difference in chemistry between these binders and Portland cement. Portland cement hydrates. It reacts with water to form calcium silicate hydrate, CSH gel, which stiffens and hardens through a process that is essentially complete within 28 days. Most building codes test concrete strength at 28 days, because that is the practical endpoint of Portland cement's useful gain. After that, the concrete does not continue to strengthen. Under most real-world conditions, it slowly weakens. Chloride ions from road salt or seawater penetrate the matrix, corroding rebar. Freeze-thaw cycles expand and contract capillary water, propagating microcracks. The material is in a long, slow structural retreat from the moment it cures. Carbonate mineralized binders work differently at the chemical level. When CO₂ is introduced to a binder containing reactive magnesium oxide, called reactive magnesia, or RMC, or when CO₂ is dissolved into seawater that contacts a pozzolanic binder, a process called carbonation curing takes place. CO₂ molecules react with calcium or magnesium ions in the matrix to form calcium carbonate or magnesium carbonate crystals, dense, stable minerals that grow into the pore structure of the binder over time. Unlike CSH gel, these crystals do not plateau at 28 days. They continue to nucleate and grow as long as CO₂ and mineral ions are available. Cited Study 1. A 2014 paper published in Cement and Concrete Research by Unluer and Altaba examined reactive magnesia cements cured under CO₂-rich conditions. Their results showed compressive strength continuing to increase well beyond the 28-day benchmark. In some test specimens, strength gains were still measurable at 90 days and beyond. The crystalline carbonation products filled macro and micropores progressively, reducing permeability and increasing density. The material was not just stronger, it was becoming less permeable over time. Cited Study 2. A 2017 study in the Journal of Cleaner Production by Ruin and Unluer examined the carbon sequestration profile of reactive magnesia cements. Unlike Portland cement production, which releases approximately 0.8 to 0.9 kilograms of CO₂ per kilogram of cement produced, reactive magnesia can actually reabsorb CO₂ during curing, partially offsetting, or in some formulations, nearly eliminating its production carbon footprint. The study estimated net CO₂ absorption of up to 100% of production emissions under optimized curing conditions. Now the commercial question. Portland cement is a single-purchase, single-use product. You buy it, you pour it, it cures, and within 20 to 30 years in most climates, you replace it. That replacement cycle is built into the economics of road construction, residential foundation contracts, and municipal infrastructure budgets. A material that gets stronger every year and lasts a demonstrable 2,000 years has no natural replacement cycle. That is not a conspiracy. That is just economics. A contractor who recommends a longer-lasting product sells fewer projects. A cement manufacturer who produces a longer-lasting product sells less cement. The incentive structure is simple and it runs in one direction. So how did those economics become embedded in building codes, research funding, and contractor training? That story starts in a very specific decade. In 1993, the American Concrete Institute updated ACI 318, the primary U.S. building code standard for structural concrete. That document, and the series of standards updates that followed through the late 1990s, effectively locked Portland cement as the default structural binder in U.S. construction. Not through any explicit exclusion of alternatives, but through a more practical mechanism. Portland cement was the only binder for which sufficient long-term performance data existed within the code's own testing framework. If your material had not been tested under ACI protocols over decades, it simply could not be specified in a permitted structure. This created what researchers call a regulatory moat. Any alternative binder, pozzolanic, geopolymer, magnesia-based, would need to go through decades of standardized testing before a licensed engineer could specify it. The testing itself costs money, the certification process costs money, and the organizations that influence which materials enter that pipeline are, in large part, funded by the industry producing the dominant material. The Portland Cement Association, the primary U.S. trade organization for cement manufacturers, reported lobbying expenditures and industry promotion spending that averaged over $50 million per year through the 2000s. Their stated goal, per their own annual reports, included advancing the use of Portland cement concrete in the construction and pavement markets. That is not an accusation. It is their published mission. That is just economics. Meanwhile, a specific body of work was struggling to gain traction. Dr. John Provis, a materials scientist then at the University of Melbourne, published foundational research on geopolymer concrete throughout the 2000s, work that documented compressive strengths comparable to Portland cement at reduced environmental cost, with better chemical resistance and lower permeability. His 2009 paper in Cement and Concrete Research is one of the most cited works in the field. But geopolymer concrete did not enter mainstream Australian building codes until a provisional standard, AS 3600 amendments, began moving through review in the late 2010s, more than a decade after the primary technical questions had been resolved. In the United States, geopolymer concrete still cannot be specified under ACI 318 for most structural applications as of 2024. Not because it doesn't work, because it hasn't been inside the testing system long enough, a system where entry is controlled, in part, by the organizations representing the competing material. The global cement market in 2023 was valued at approximately $420 billion. The global concrete market, which depends on cement, was valued at over $600 billion at those margins. The cost of lobbying, of funding code committees, of sponsoring the conferences where testing standards are set, is negligible. It is a rational investment to protect a rational market. The result is that a homeowner in 2024 pouring a concrete slab has access to exactly one mainstream binder option, the same one standardized in 1824, while 2 millennia of evidence for better alternatives sits in academic journals that most contractors will never read. That changes in the next section. What follows is a working method for producing a CO₂-cured reactive magnesia concrete, a seawater-compatible, self-strengthening mix at the scale of a homeowner or small contractor. The chemistry is sound, the materials are commercially available, and the cost is a fraction of Portland cement. What you're making: a reactive magnesia cement, RMC mix, cured under ambient CO₂ conditions, with seawater or dissolved mineral water as the wetting agent. Properly proportioned and cured, it achieves compressive strengths of 30 to 50 MPa, comparable to standard structural concrete grades, and continues to gain strength beyond 28 days. Materials required: reactive magnesia, MgO, not dead-burned magnesia. Source: industrial chemical or refractory materials, vendors. Cost: 0.30, 0 torrent 45 clay odors in 25 kilos bags. Fine aggregate, clean sand. Standard construction grade. Coarse aggregate, crushed stone or gravel. 10-20 millimeter grade. Seawater or freshwater with dissolved magnesium chloride, MgCl2, at 3 to 4% by weight. Optional: fly ash or GGBS as supplementary binder at 10 to 30% substitution. Step-by-step method: proportion the dry mix. Binder to aggregate ratio of 1.3 by weight. For a 0.1 M3 batch, 20 kilos reactive. MgO, 60 kilodalton combined aggregate, 40% sand, 60% gravel. If substituting fly ash, replace 20-30% of MgO by weight. Mix dry components. Combine MgO, fly ash, if using, sand and gravel dry in a drum mixer. Mix minimum 3 minutes until uniform. Do not add liquid yet. Prepare the wetting solution. Use natural seawater or dissolve 35 grams MgCl2 per liter of fresh water. You will need approximately 8 to 10 liters per 80 kilobus dry batch. Target water to binder ratio of 0.40, 0.45 by weight. Add wetting solution and mix. Add seawater solution gradually. Target slump of 50-75 milliliter. Do not overwater. Excess dilutes the mineral ion concentration needed for carbonation. Place and compact. Pour into forms as standard concrete. Rod or vibrate to remove air pockets. Finished surface is needed. CO₂ curing. Cover the slab with a plastic tent. Introduce CO₂ from a standard compressed tank. Homebrew supply, $25 per 5 B cylinder. Maintain 5-20% CO₂ concentration inside the tent for the first 24-48 hours. A 5 B cylinder supplies sufficient CO₂ for a 1 to 2 MF2 slab area over 48 hours. After initial curing, exposed to ambient air, atmospheric CO₂, 0.04%, will continue mineralization indefinitely. Ambient curing. Allow minimum 28 days before load-bearing use. Expect 10 to 20% higher compressive strength at 90 days versus the 28-day measurement. Unlure and Altaba, 2014. Real case: Eddie Garza, retired contractor, Corpus Christi, TX. Eddie poured a 4-Min-X 6-meter equipment pad using an RMC mix in spring 2019. He sourced reactive MgO from an industrial refractory supplier in San Antonio at 0.38 calorics, used Gulf of Mexico seawater in a 200-liter drum, and cured the slab under a poly tent with a 10 lb CO₂ cylinder over 72 hours. Total material cost: approximately $185 USD for the full 24-meter slab. A comparable Portland cement slab, 3,000 PSSI ready mix delivered, would have run approximately $720 in his area. By 2023, 4 years after the pour, cores showed measurably higher density and lower porosity with no visible cracking, despite 4 years of equipment traffic and coastal humidity cycling. Cost comparison: material cost per M2 or 100 millimeter slab, Portland cement ready mix delivered, 38 mile but Portland cement DIY bagged, 16-22 minute hour RMC seawater mix. This method, Sicaerix, 9 Wittington force. The Romans built harbor walls that are still structurally intact after 2,100 years of Mediterranean exposure. You are paying $35 per square meter for something that will crack into 20. The recipe has always existed. Now you have it. Hidden fix lab.